Hi, welcome back to the Recovery Daily podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Miller. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And today I will not forget to tell you what your plank challenge time is. So we have day 5. Whether you're doing the 3-minute track or the 5-minute track, we are still synced up at the same time. So today is 40 seconds. 40 seconds for the plank challenge. So good luck with that. And today I'm going to unpack one of the promises from the world of AA. And this is the one that says, we will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. And I want to talk about it as it relates to parenting. Because this is the one thing that is kind of left over that I still am trying to not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it as far as parenting. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about that and maybe you can relate. So to be honest, this concept has always been a little bit of a conundrum for me. When I think about all the things that I did, said back when I was drinking, it's hard to look back at that and think, no, I don't regret any of that now, Um, but I have grown over the years to get it. It's finally sunk into me what that means, about finding where the growth is in that stuff. And that's where my regret shifted over to gratitude. Like, thank God that that happened so that I'm able to do this, or so that I know that, that's how that promise translates over to me. Um, when I think about all the things I didn't do for my kids because of my drinking, it's tough not to feel a pang of regret still. So maybe it's helpful to talk about that. I drank because facing life sober seemed impossible. Yet in doing so, I sacrificed so much of my ability to be the mother that I wanted to be. And my kids and I have always prided ourselves on having an open and honest communication channel between us. I have so many of my favorite memories, being like sitting up with my son, talking to him for hours. And this was just not just a handful of times. Like, we used to do it all the time for his whole life. We would just sit up and talk to each other. It was amazing. And my memories of my daughter, this makes me smile, coming home from school and doing the same thing, like just sitting and talking to me about all these things that are going on in her life. So if these are my cherished memories, and it feels like, we really had that great connection and that great bond and love between all of us, what was missing? Why do I feel like I have anything to regret about my past as it relates to my children? Why do I beat myself up about this? Was I present? You know, I feel like I was. I mean, I was there, and I was mentally there too, because we were talking for hours, and I know that it was a mutual um, appreciation for having those times together. But when I was there, I always had a glass in my hand. And that sticks out to me, like rubs me the wrong way when I think about that. Not only did I not have the glass sitting on the table, but I mean, I always had it in my hand, always. And was this a bad message I was sending to my kids? Um, Now, I don't want to beat myself up, right? But I would say my greatest, without a doubt, my greatest regret of all, uh, that I continue to try to relieve myself of, is not calling my son more when he went off to college. I was so wrapped up in myself, in the throes of my addiction, to then trying to recover, that I missed out on him. That experience from him transitioning from high school over to college. And I don't know how to make that right. I'm sure he would say, I've actually mentioned it to him several times because it's just stuck with me that I can't seem to let this go as a regret. I'm sure he would say, and he has said, that I don't need to make anything right. Um, but, and all I can do is a living amends. And that's what I was talking about yesterday with the living amends. Um, no promises, no. I also don't want to shove myself, like call him daily and constantly so that I annoy him, because there is no, like, I don't want to play catch up and come on too strong. And so what else was missing when I was parenting as an alcoholic? Making decisions that reflected my best self, definitely. Like advising the kids not to drop that math class I was talking about yesterday. Um, Advising them not to oversleep, being an example of not oversleeping, being on time, being an example for being on time. I can't tell you how many times that I was the one that made my kids late because I was hungover and couldn't get my hiney out of bed or something like that. I wasn't setting the example that I wished that I had. And I realize that now. I was a different parent to my son than I was to my daughter during their high school years. And that's something that I don't know, it makes me sad. I don't think I was a bad mom. It's just I was a different mom, and I guess I I wish, I wish I did this. I wish I did that. It's not a healthy place to be mentally. So this morning at my sobriety meeting, the topic was identification. And it made me think about how critical it is to accept our identities, even the parts that we may not be proud of. So, I feel like I'm always talking about Rachel version 1, version 2.0, and version 3.0. Rachel version 2.0 is the one that got sober, and Rachel 3.0 is the one that decided that she needed to leave her job to take care of her recovery after her stroke. And that's me now. I'm Rachel version 3.0. And it's so critical to turn that page and I think acknowledge that I have to change or nothing's going to change. And I just mentioned that. Yeah, I think that was yesterday. I mentioned that too. And that's what I mean by turning the page or changing over to Rachel version 3.0 is acknowledging that something's got to change. And it's not just one thing, like everything's got to change. That's what I mean. Everything's got to change. And to me, that is that identity. It's like Rachel version 2.0. I identified myself as a career woman. So who am I now? When I left my career, I have to identify myself as a stroke survivor. And I'm still working on that identification. Um, for the longest time, I didn't fit my own stereotype of what an alcoholic looked like. I always thought that alcoholics were, living under bridges or camping out on the streets and stuff like that. And admitting the truth about who I was and recognizing that I wasn't living up to my potential as a mother were the two biggest hurdles that I had to overcome. I had this illusion of being the best mother ever, um, because all the kids always came over to my house. I was the fun house. It wasn't because I wasn't walking around the house just smashed all the time. I was maintaining all the time. That's all I was doing. But what it did, I believe, is it made me a little less what's the word? Disciplined, I guess. It made me a little more I relaxed the rules a lot more around the house. And of course the kids would want to come hang out at the house where the rules are relaxed. I don't know that I would have been had many additional rules had I not been drinking. But I just wonder, I suppose. But I certainly wasn't the best mother ever. My kids tell me I'm the best mother ever, which I really appreciate if you're listening to this. But I missed the boat on so many things, and uh, I can only imagine the added level of fun that my kids and I could have had if I had the sober energy that I have today. I was a super young mother, which I've always loved about having had my kids so early. Um, I had so much energy for them. It's funny because I kind of did things a little unconventionally, we'll say, and I had my kids really early. But if I had to do it all again, I would have done it the same way. I loved the fact that I was so young and I could really just play, just be young with them. It's really been great, and even today, I'm 49 and my son is 26, and it's just I feel like I'm getting old. I can't they're sometimes saying all these words that I don't understand. I'm like, I don't know what that is. You're speaking a foreign language to me. And they have to explain. I guess I'm not the cool mom anymore. Um I was cool before my kids could realize that I actually wasn't cool. If I just when they were young, I could tell them that I was cool, and they were like, "Yeah, yeah, mom, you're totally cool." But I imagine that if I was sober, I I would have been a lot more energetic, and that's kind of scary. Maybe that's a little scary to think about. I heard something powerful last week, and that is adversity introduces us to ourselves. And I thought that that was a really cool quote, and it resonates with me. This is where the idea of not regretting the past or wishing to shut the door on it really hits home for me. Without finally identifying as an alcoholic and embracing the program, I wouldn't be the mother I am today. It's through adversity that I discovered my strengths and my resilience. My daughter gave me a jar that has 49 pieces of paper inside, like little tiny pieces of paper inside, where she has written 49 reasons why she loves me for my 49th birthday. And one of the reasons that I unfolded just recently, it said, "You never give up." And that I saved, and I have it sitting on my shelf because that is exactly the mom that I've always wanted to be. That is what I wanted to show my kids. And it didn't come until I got sober. I want to parent by example, and I'm doing that today. And I'm really proud of myself for that. And when I focus on that, how did I get here? I got here because of what happened to me. So that's where I have to not regret the past. All of that stuff that happened, all that I've gone through, that is what has made me who I am today. And that is what provides me with the tools that help me be a better parent. Um, I have experiences now that I can share with my kids, offering them insight from living through doing things the hard way, and I can support them as they navigate their own young adult lives. Of course, we as parents can only do so much, no matter how hard we try. Young adults have to experience things the hard way too sometimes. Um, it's the toughest but deepest way to learn, I believe, having the lessons ingrained in us, and apparently that's the way I needed to learn. I did a lot of learning the hard way, from being arrested for drinking and driving, from stealing. Eek! I've never said that out loud. Just when I was little. I did. But that's the thing. I learned the hard way. I stole candy with my friend from 7-Eleven, and we got caught. There was a police officer up at the counter, and he came over and like, oh, it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. But I learned everything the hard way. I had to go home and tell my mom, and then my mom made me go back to 7-Eleven and apologize to the clerk, and oh, it was terrible. But you know what? I never stole again. And I'm glad that that happened when I was little. And there's a good example of not regretting the past, because I never, I because I learned things the hard way, I didn't grow up and start and steal, which I know I'm not unique. Like there are other people that I know out there who have stolen things as well, but I'm not proud of it. And talking talking about people behind their back, that's something that um, man, I really have gotten good at not doing that. I think but I still do it. And I'm ashamed of it. But learning things the hard way, I did it in college, and one of my very best friends, um I was talking about him to some of my other friends, and I don't remember what I said at this point, but he was standing at the door and heard everything that I said. And he was never friends with me ever again after that. He just completely wouldn't talk to me anymore. And that broke my heart. But yet another way that I learned the hard way that it's not good to do that. So I try really hard. I guess that's some of the bitchy part of me that does that. But I really try to not anymore. But these are just some examples of learning things the hard way and having learned lessons that way and not regretting that they happened so that I can be a better version of me. Sometimes I didn't get caught, and there are a lot of what we call in sobriety not yets. And as long as I stay sober, I won't have to face those hard lessons too. So I have to shift perspective whenever I catch myself regretting the past. I try to ask, what's the opportunity here? What can I provide to my kids now that I might not have been able to if I hadn't gone through these struggles? And it's these moments that I keep the door to my past open, not with regret, but as a gateway to a deeper understanding and connection with those I've hurt in my alcoholism, or those that I feel like I didn't give enough to, like my kids. And this helps me today nurture my re- relationships and make living amends. So recovery, I say it a lot, recovery is not just about not drinking. That's just a symptom of the deeper issues that I have dealt with my whole life. I'm growing, learning, and most importantly, sharing these lessons with people I love. And those, first and foremost, are my kids. I'm transforming my adversities into assets and my past into a platform for loving and guiding my young adult children. So, to any of you who might be wrestling with that idea of not regretting the past nor wish to shut the door on it, just, you know, your journey with all of its trials and tribulations has given you gifts, you know, given you, made you wiser, um, being able to look back on those, that that very act is a form of resilience, and it gives you also empathy that you can now share your experiences with others around you that you possibly feel it may resonate with. So, trying to not shut the door on the past is, I think, it takes a long time. For me, it has taken a long time. I don't try to focus too much on that because it's a promise of AA. And that means that if I work the steps, if I focus on the program, then the promise comes out of it. It's like a gift. It's not something that I have to try to do. It just eventually comes to fruition. Um, so I think that's about it. Like, let's embrace that our past and understand its purpose for our recovery, and let it be a source of strength and and really a story of hope for others that we run across as we travel on our journey of recovery. So that's what I've got for you today. And thanks for joining me. Um, I love it. I say this a lot too. I love it. I love seeing how many people are listening, and it's truly helping me to be able to talk every evening. This is how I bookend my day. An hour in the morning in my sobriety meeting, and an hour in the evening talking about some of these critical topics in sobriety. I do talk, I know, quite a lot more about sobriety than I do about my stroke, but it really goes hand in hand. I mean, everything that I that I deal with in sobriety seems to just mirror what I'm dealing with my stroke. So just remember that we're all humans just trying to be, and learning, growing, and healing one day at a time. Trying to keep the door to our past open, not with regret, but with gratitude for the lessons that it has taught us. So thank you for listening, and I will talk to you tomorrow.